Hey, this is Rosa, Rosa Rubio Giotta, RCG Creations. How are you? I'm bringing you today a card, and I'm using something new for me. It's called Nauvoo Expandable Mousse, and this one is the color Woven Linen. And here's a card that I made the first time. What's nice about this mousse, look, see that there? It's like a paste, but when you put a heat gun to it, it puffs up. Let me show you. See how it puffed up? And then it's just a birthday card, and I thought it was kind of cute and simple. Sorry, I noticed that I'm a little crooked. Not a whole lot, but a little crooked on that. I need to get better at that. But anyway, so we're going to learn how to do it. But this next card, it's going to be pretty much exactly the same as that one, except for I'm not going to put a heat to it, because if you don't put heat to it, it stays smooth, a smooth finish, like it's painted on. And when you put heat on it, it puffs up. Okay, so let's get started. Let me get, where did I put, oh, here's my stencil. And let me get I got my little mask here, so I don't go overboard. Let's see, there's the edge of that one. Yeah, I kind of want to put it in the middle. So let me get me my piece of washi. I have a piece right here. That's just to keep it in place. That's the only reason I'm doing it, so it doesn't move around on me. And you want to measure to make sure whatever it is that and I'm only want to ink in. This is the Tim Holtz eye chart stencil, and I only want to use this little part. I don't want to use the whole thing, so you have to manually line it up. And I want to line it up to, I want to go as much top as possible without going too far overboard. And I just want to line it up to put it in the middle. And then I'm just going to use this washi just to hold it in place so it doesn't move from the cardstock. And then this I'm going to put here. But I want to have room to say, yikes, you're old. Okay, and that's just to keep it from moving. So let me get you can use any kind of spatula you have. I have this kind, you can have this kind, but I'm not going to use this big one because I want to go smooth this way, and I don't want it to spread out onto the others, because once that mousse is on there, it's not coming off. So I'm going to use my smaller spatula so I can have more control. And when you get these, they come with a foil, so they're airtight. But I will tell you this, as soon as you get it, go ahead and close it as soon as possible, because the more air it gets, it does get hard. Okay. Oh, and you can also add water to this. I wrote my little notes in here. And let's see what it's telling me here. This is apply expanding mousse with a spatula, heating straight away, or when dried, it gives different results. So you can actually add color to this, like ink, like those powder inks that you use with water, but you just put powder on it and it comes to a different color. Or you can use your alcohol marker ink, the refillable your refillable refill ink bottles. And you can heat emboss it if you want to, or you don't have to. And it does turn a little bit darker, so we'll do a comparison with the two once I'm done with this. Okay, now when you're working with a stencil, if you want to lay it flat, you want to hold on both ends of it, just so you get a nice smooth finish. And then you want to push down on it, and then smooth out the excess. So then you want to smoosh down on it, and then push down the excess. And since I'm working with just a certain area, I'm controlling it more versus doing the whole thing. This takes a little bit more longer time, but you have more control over where the mousse goes and doesn't go, which is what you want to control. Now I don't want to do this part of it, so I forgot, I messed up. I don't want this part here at all to show. So I need this to be right here above this one part of the stencil. Okay, so now I just want the smaller case letters, you know, because I'm sure 90% of us have all gone to the eye doctor. And so we've done this little chart so they can tell you how your vision is. And so the further down you go, the smaller the letters. Okay, I just want to do this last one here. I'm just going to smooth it up, but I want it to go into the crevices of the stencil. So I'm holding down on it because I want to apply pressure, because I don't want any extra ridges to show or smudges from the stencil. And see how it's getting clean, but it's going into it. And feel free to move your cardstock around if you need to. And then scrape the edge if it gets too much for you and grab some more. And then let me hold this part down just because I want to be able to control it. And then I'm going to scrape off the excess. And there's an extra one, so now I'm going to hold this down. Do the same thing for this letter. Let me get a little bit more mousse. Scrape this one, hold this one down. Let me move this around so you can see. Move this one down. Hold this one down. Hold that one down. And I'm going to turn this around just so y'all can see. And then I'm just going to smooth this on over. Now we're going to do the big letter. But I want more control. Okay. Hold that down, hold this down. And then just smooth this out. See, when you smooth out like that, it makes it a nice even, but you see how there's ink with the mousse here, but there's not that much mousse here. And bear with me because this is my first time using this. I've had this for a couple of months, but I've never used it. Today was my first day. I just opened it up. Okay, there we go. Now we've got, and just bear with me, I just wanna, when you go over to scrape it, don't push too much on the letter, especially on these bigger letters, because it will take off some of that mousse from you. So what you're doing is you're pushing down on it, and then you're smoothing it, but lightly go over it just to get it even look, even tone, because you want a nice smooth finish. And that's just going to take practice, but I'm going to bring this up to show you. See how it's got a nice even tone? I hope you can see that. Okay, now let's do the reveal, but before I do the reveal, let's scrape our excess back in here. You don't want to waste it because you can use it again. Make sure you close it tight so it's got an airtight seal. Now let's do the reveal. You hold down the cardstock with one hand, pull on the stencil with the other, and ta-da! There we go. Now this one, I'm not going to heat dry it. I'm just going to let it dry naturally. Okay? So while that's drying, oh look, I got a little smudge. Let's see with my other little spatula. Can I take that off? Okay, good. I took it off. Let me just get a paper towel. Put that on. You want to get this in water as soon as possible because once it dries, it's what I'm read, it's really hard to come clean. And this I'm just going to use. It's going to be my scrap for the next time for another project. So I'm just going to go ahead and wipe off the excess. Throw that away. I'm going to get myself a wet wipey. Probably going to get 2 or 3 of these. Just for the sake of the video, normally the first time I did it, I went straight to the sink and it came right off. But for the sake of the video, and I don't want to spend too much time doing this, I just want to get most of this off of here. And it just comes right off with water. You don't really need soap, but you can, well, of course, always use your soap, but you don't necessarily need it. Don't forget to wipe off your spatula because you don't want to ruin your spatula. You want it to be nice and smooth. Okay. And then go dip it in water and you'll be good to go. But I'm just going to try to clean up as much as I can off of this thing. And then I'll take it and go wash it and let it sit in water. I'm going to put that over to the side for right now. Okay, don't need this one. Next thing I'm going to do is, well, that's drying. I don't want to touch it, so I don't want to mess with it too much. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get my stamp apparatus. And this is my Stamp Buddy, which cleans my stamps. It's from Stampin' Up. I'm going to line this up here, but I don't want this to touch anything at all, so I want to make sure it's exposed over. Let me move this out of the way. Move this out of the way. Let me move this right here. Oh, I already had this lined up from the other one. Okay, so I need to go down because I had it down here. Get my little magnets. Make sure you never touch the two magnets together because they can break. I was reading earlier on a Facebook group earlier where a woman had hers and they accidentally connected and they both shattered. And I was like, oh, yikes. So make sure you always get yourself a set of where you, now I'm going to be doing embossing. So I'm going to get my, in my embossing, this is a stamp and glue pad. It's called Palette. There's all different kinds out there, all over the place. You can find them anywhere. And this is just a stamping glue pad. And I'm just going to ink it up. Hopefully it should be nice and juicy because I just inked up my little sponge. So it should be doing good. Push down on it. I like to use this because I want to make sure that it does, the cardstock does not move in case I have to redo a double impression. And look, you can see where it's on there, but I just forgot. I remembered I forgot to use my embossing powder, so I'm going to have to hope that this works out okay. And then I'm good to go. Let me just get this out of the way. I'm going to get my scrap paper to collect my excess. Move this over here so I can do that on there because I'm going to emboss the first half too. Okay, and now I'm using Stamp a Stuff embossing powder. This is called Aqua Tinsel. You can use a bunch of this or whatever because any excess you just put right back in the bottle so you're not wasting anything. Okay. Where did I put my little brush? Ah, I lost my little brush. Where did I put my little brush? I have a little paintbrush to help me with the excess. See, if you don't use your embossing powder, the little granules will stick on areas that you don't want them to stick, like right in between the R and the T. You see that? So bear with me. Let me see, where did I put my brush? I swear my brush is here on the table somewhere because I literally just put everything together that I knew I was going to need, but I can't find it. So it's here somewhere. So what I'm going to do is I keep a little toothpick in my little stash. I have a little plastic container that I keep all my embossing stuff with, and I'm just going to ever so light, be very careful so you don't touch the lettering that you want to leave, and then slightly blow on it, and then that helps remove the excess. So when you apply the heat, nothing goes on. Okay, now I'm going to put back my ink, and any excess that's here, I just shake it in my trash can. Okay, and before, because I tend to get a little messy and I spill things, I'm closing this all up so nothing happens. Closing my ink pad. Now I'm going to bring this, and because I don't want any heat on the front where the lettering is, I'm going to have to be very careful. Excuse me, this is going to be a little noisy. So here's my heating tool. I have the Darcy heat tool. And that's what it looks like. So I got to be very careful because I don't want any heat to show up on this at all. So just heat it up, and it's going to turn colors on you. And that's how you know when it's set. Ooh, that's getting a little hot. When you're working with the glitter embossing powder, it's kind of hard to tell if it was set or not. The other clear one sets, you could actually see it setting. So I always like to touch, and if no granules come on my finger, then I know it's set. Okay, I got one little granule on there, so I'm pretty sure it's set. But I'm going to heat this one more time, just to make sure. Now be careful, you don't want to heat this too much because the heat will burn your cardstock and it'll turn it brown. So I know you can hear me, but you can't see me. But I just heated it again. Now I'm going to do my touch test. And you'll be able to feel it on your fingers if you feel any granules. And look, nothing happened. So now it's totally dry. Yay! So that one's done. And the message says, well, my first part of my message says, there you go. Yikes, you're old. You can tell by the eye test. And then it says, welcome to the club. Have a happy birthday. So that's my, oh, there's my brush. Ta-da! It's behind my card. Okay, so now let's go ahead and stamp. But before I do the stamping, I'm going to put my embossing powder because I don't want to have that little mess that I had on the other side. I just want to make sure that the embossing powder keeps the stuff that's not touching the glue. Okay, I'm going to line myself back up again, get my magnets up here again, and then let me get my message that says, yikes, you're old. And I'm using the, this is the Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station Stamp and Dice and Stencil Set. It's called Birthday Bash. The item number is WVZ71112, and it's by Ranger. So you get all these dies, and here's the stencil. Let me show you. I always like to show my products when I do my videos, just so people can see what's going on. And let me put a dark cardstock here. See, and then that's the stencil. Okay, I'll put all that together in a minute. Okay, now let me get my stamp here. I'm trying to get myself to make sure I do this in under 15 minutes from beginning to end. So let me put that down here, stamp that up. And because this is already here, I'm going to do some more cards, so I'm going to leave that exactly where it is. That's nice about the Stamparatus from Stampin' Up, is that you get 2 of these plates, and you can use all 4 sides. So that can, especially if you're going to be doing multiple cards, it helps speed things up. Let me get my pad, my embossing pad. We're going to emboss this again. I always like to cover mine just in case. Push down on it. Use my little spatula just to make sure that the card does not move in case I have to stamp again. Nope, I did good. You see the ink that's on there. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same ink again. Move this out of the way. Get my first collector. Now you have to be careful because this is still wet. So I'm going to, it's not wet, but it's wet. Yeah, it's still pretty wet because it's a little thick. I think this dries in about like 20 or 30 minutes, but I could be wrong. But anyway, so I'm just going to hold this up just a little bit because I want to make sure I don't get any embossing powder on that part there. Okay. Here's my brush, and I like to flick it, the back of it, so it shakes off any excess. And look, only a few little granules were showed up, and I'm just going to barely, and make sure you control yourself so you don't mess up the lettering. Wipe off this excess embossing powder that you don't want on the card. Remember, if you wanted it like little speckles, sometimes that's actually kind of pretty. Then you're fine. Okay, so let's put this back in here. Flick that back in the container. There's hardly any excess there, but if there's still a little bit of residual speckles and flakes. Close this up. Let me bring my embossing gun. And again, like I said, I'm going to have to really maneuver this because I don't want the heat to get onto the lettering. So right now it's already hot. I'm going to do my finger test. Good. 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 So I know that's dry. Let me move my stuff out of the way. Now I'm going to put my little flowers. You can decorate it however you want to. Now, of course, I'm going to show you this. Sometimes this is just what happens. I'm also pretty new at stenciling. See how all these came out really good? But this one, the smudge did go underneath the stencil. It's because if you don't hold it down with one hand and then stencil with the other, whatever it is, the medium that you're using gets underneath the stencil, and that's exactly what happened here in this case. You see that? But you see the rest of them that it did it. Even the small ones, you can even see that. Okay, so now I'm just going to get my glue, get my little flowers, and then this project is done. Oops. My glue is clogged up. Oh, this is clogged up. Let me use my other one because I want to save some time. Okay, come on. Come on, glue, where are you? I always have a hidden stash of extra glue bottles with my little push pins for times like this. So it's like, okay. There we go. Let me put this one in here. I'll fix that after the video is over with. There we go. You know, I don't like want to put a whole lot of glue on this thing, but I just want to do some glue. And I like to do little embellishments in threes. I just think it looks a little bit nicer than like one or two. I want to get the petal because I want to make sure when this goes in the mail that the little petals don't come out or don't get bent. And then let's go right here with this guy here. And then let's get this guy. And let's put this guy right in here. And this glue will dry clear, so when it dries, and then on the inside, let's get this last flower. Because it's nice to have some items from the front go to the inside of the card. And 99% of the time, all my cards always have something on the inside. I very seldom make a card that doesn't have something on the inside. Now this project is done. So let me go back and I'll show you. Let me get this out of the way. Here's my first card where I heat set the embossing mousse. Here's a card where there is no heat and embossing, and you see the differences. And let me angle this so you can see the puffiness. Here's the one that's not embossed, and here's the one that is embossed. See that? And then it's got the same message. This one I did in black ink, and then I covered it with the clear crystal embossing powder. And this one is just straight embossing powder. And as you can see here, the Big E, I really messed it up where it bled underneath the stencil, but I'm okay with that. And then this is the inside message. So they're two cards with the same thing, but they look differently because you just change things around a little bit. Just in the words here is changed of how the way they done. And on the inside, I just positioned the flower a little bit differently. And see here, I forgot to use my embossing powder, and this stuff is on there. It's not going to come off. It stuck to it because it heated to it, but you know, I'm alright with that. Alright, thank you so very much for watching. Don't forget to hit like, share, and comment, and hit the subscribe button. We thank you so much, and we see you at the next video. Bye-bye.